Carpe Diem in Colorado. How's it going?
Well,
Welcome to the
Jim.
show. Hey, and
By the
Rudy's
way,
here too.
you're awesome today's show. Just saying that.
Oh, thank you.
And Rudy. Okay, so my question is really about redemption and forgiveness in the secular community, and how it looks like when we try to make alliances with someone who thinks differently from us, or who maybe we even thinks the same as us, but then they go and say something hurtful, or they do something that is literally toxic. Or they might not realize it, or maybe they do it on purpose. I don't think that's what I'm actually getting at. What does one have to do to come back from having hurt the causes that we're trying to work on together? So how does that look like? How does forgiveness and redemption look in the secular community? Is basically my question. And I can give examples if necessary, but we can just talk about it in general.
I think we can all think of some off the top of our own heads.
Yeah, easily. And I think some of that is, so one, there is, for some folks, there is a break of trust that happens. Richard Dawkins, for instance, has been abominable on a number of topics for so long that I don't think there is necessarily a breach of trust. We just don't trust him when it comes to things he says about trans issues and other issues as well. But for him to come back, this is one of the problems that I have with some folks as well. We should not be completely cutting Dawkins off, or Shermer, or some of these other people who hold really, really bad beliefs, because all we're doing is forcing them into their own echo chamber, and they'll never have a chance to change their minds. And I think it's important that we do that we give them a chance to realize they're wrong and move forward together. But also, unless you're willing to make the apology and do the work to show that the apology is real, I don't know that there has to be forgiveness. And I don't know that everybody has to forgive somebody who has done the work, right? Everyone is going to require a different amount of work and a different, I don't want to call it level of apology, but different type of apology. And some people may never get over the hurt.
Yeah.
And so that is a thing as well. So yeah, I think it's make the apology, make it as real as you possibly can, do the work to repair whatever damage was done, and accept the fact that for some people you may not have, you may have gone the line too far. I don't know. What do you think, Rudy? I know you're.
I've thought about this a lot because there was sort of a big controversy related to this when I kind of was first joining the atheist online community. So my approach to forgiveness and reconciliation, even outside of this specific circumstance, has always been, first of all, let that person know in the first place that you are hurt and why, because holding a grudge against somebody and not giving them a chance to defend themselves or to make amends is just, you've decided to end that relationship, essentially. You're not even giving that other person a chance to repair it, so you've decided to end it. And the next thing would be, of course, to give that person an opportunity to make a change or to understand why they said or did something wrong. And they may disagree. That's something too, is that you might turn out to be wrong, or you might rethink your position and say, maybe there's also different levels to things too. Like when it comes to being like problematic, for example, about LGBT issues or something like that, somebody could say something ignorant and somebody could say something malicious, and you have to realize that those are two different things. That's a big one to me as far as online discourse has gone and seeing people rip each other to shreds, is that there is a huge difference between, at least most of the time, sometimes the line is blurry, but most of the time there's a pretty big and obvious difference between somebody who is speaking out of ignorance and somebody who is speaking out of malice. So basically, I guess the only thing I could think is just to be thoughtful and be considerate and like Jim said, you don't have to forgive anybody on a personal basis. By no means. You don't have to forgive anybody of anything. You could have somebody do everything that they could reasonably be asked to do to make amends, and you still aren't required to forgive them. Or you could say, I forgive you, but I really don't fuck with you anymore because, you know, we've lost that trust. I understand you've done your best to make amends, but I still don't really want you in my life or want you in my circle.
I think there's a difference between forgiving someone, which is really about yourself, and letting go of the power that the hurt of what the person did has over you.
Absolutely.
And be willing to include the person and be willing to include the person on your future, right? Certainly in my private life, I have had lots of events like that. My concern is more that when we don't give people a chance to redemption, not only might we lose a future ally that might come back with a vengeance, right? And be even more strongly of an ally than they ever could have been, or she could have been, or they could have been, because they learn from the experience. But when we ostracize the people who think differently from us, perhaps because they made in some mistake, but even if they did do it intentionally, you know, if we can't, who are we as a skeptical community if we fail to allow people to say or ask bad questions, sometimes out of ignorance or sometimes out of malice, but give them an opportunity to learn, right? If the show is about, you know, it's a show, for example, tell me what you believe. And if you change your mind, tell us that too, because that's what we're here for, right? And so I'm scared of closing the doors on future allies because we are so hurt that we sometimes, understandably so, react in a way that pushes away those that may have been an ally further in the future. You know, and I agree with you guys. You can't force someone to work with someone that hurt you in the past, right? But at the same time, if that's the attitude that we have, how do we ever increase, well-being in our community and basically hear other voices also too, because maybe there's a valid point that the other people are trying to make. So example, I'm not going to mention the exact example, but the example that happened right before you came into ACA is one example. That person isn't still not in the fold, right, of the ACA, and that's something that saddens me, as I feel like we are sending a message that you're either with us exactly like we want, or you are against us. But I really don't feel like that's what you guys just shared, and that's amazing. And I hope that there are more people in our community willing to educate others and accept others, so that we can continue to grow the community, because people are not going to think the way we do all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember that a lot of these things aren't decisions that are made on an individual basis. A lot of these, especially, you know, concerning a group, an organization, you know, none of these are decisions that can be made on a personal basis. So there, you know, there's other considerations that have to be taken into account, like just general PR optics, which, like, it sucks that those are things that have to be part of it, because you would want to just be able to do whatever you think is right, or, you know, whatever. But sometimes it becomes a matter of, okay, but this is what we have to do for this group of people or whatever. But on an individual basis, you know, I don't think that anybody is saying never work with this person, or you can't be one of us, you can't be with us. And the people that are saying that that's what's happening are looking at the situation without nuance. A lot of people might agree that they don't want this person around or whatever. That doesn't mean that they're dogpiling them. They might just all have come to that conclusion individually, you know?
So this is the last question I have then, I guess. What is too far that you no longer can be redeemed, right? So is there a line that if you cross that line, you are written off forever and I never want to work with you? How and I know it's probably different for every person, right? But
yeah,
I mean, I guess answer just for you guys. Answer for you guys. Is there a line like that for you?
I've had a line where that was crossed, where there's, you know, at least one person that I can think of that I'm like, no, I'm not going to do content with that person again in any way, shape, or form. But that was a personal boundary. I don't think that you can just say, what is the line, even for an individual. Sometimes you don't know what that line is until you get there. It's a case-to-case basis.
Yeah, and for me,
What do you think,
if you're still causing hurt and pain to people, no, not until you stop doing that. Whether that
at
hurt
the
and
very
pain is to
least.
me or to people I know or people I don't know. You need to stop hurting people, and then you need to show, like I said, do some work to repair the damage as much as you can. But I'm not willing to stop. I don't stop talking to people, and I just don't see any point in that. That's what theists do. That's not what atheists should do. But people are free to disagree with that on that, and I support your right to do so.
I appreciate I honestly think what you guys said here was pure wisdom, and I appreciate that. And again, I hope that our community can.
Oh, we're not Jesus. This isn't pure wisdom.
I think you guys are doing better than Jesus. That's for sure.
All right.
Well, thanks.
Thanks.
It's a low bar, but
well, he did say to turn the other cheek. To be fair, right? So.
Well, we're not saying that either. So. All right. Thanks for the call.
Too. I don't know if I'd agree. I don't agree that turning the other cheek is even a good idea necessarily. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
That was an interesting call.
Yeah.